Silkworms in southern India love mulberry leaves. There are scores of them, and they are hungry. Harish Hande has given them some light to dine by. It makes raising them easier.
They have to feed every 4 hours, and they have to pick up worms that are ready for silk rearing. And they either use kerosene or they use candle, and that's very dangerous. I mean, that's a direct impact on their income because a drop of wax would destroy some of the worms. So solar is the best solution for them, they could use solar light to feed as well as to remove the good worms that are ready for silk rearing.
In the beginning, Harish Hande really had to convince people of the new technology. That's why he lived in an Indian village like this one after completing his engineering studies. He wanted to know how it is to live without electricity and what people in rural areas need.
We assume that a lot of the technologies that are being built for the rich, then how do we then tailor-make it to fit the poor, rather than looking at the problems of the poor from day one with a clean slate and then move forward? And that was a concept. And just to give a background, I did my bachelor's in energy engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, and then went to the US to do my master's and PhD, and then realized that everything I did was really of no use to the poor. And so I had to spend time in the rural areas to unlearn what I had learned in my PhD and master's.
At the time, he was in his mid-20s and didn't have much money himself.
If I go back to that time, I would still say that I should start with $30. Primarily because when you have less amount of money, you try to innovate a lot because your back is to the wall, and basically survival is the issue, and survival brings in innovations.
Bangalore is a thriving city in southern India, and it's from here that Harish Hande expanded his company SELCO.
What we did basically was start off the operations, and we would buy a 4 lighting system from a manufacturer and then sell it, and whatever money we would get and buy another.
Harish slowly realized that the one-size-fits-all 4-light system was not always the most appropriate or affordable solution for the rural poor.
A very typical example being when a farmer came to us and said, I want a 3-light system, and when we designed a 3-light system for the farmer ran away. He said it's too expensive. But the technician went to his house, went on top of the house, broke a part of it, and put 1 light. He wanted light in 3 rooms. He did not need 3 lights. And suddenly solar became affordable. Because of the different segmentation of people, and especially the poor, there's no standardized income generating activity. A neighbor might be a midwife, this side neighbor might be a street vendor, the other side neighbor would be a potato vendor, and everybody needs very different sorts of energy services. There were a lot of myths before we started SELCO. Poor people cannot maintain technologies, and you cannot run a commercial venture while trying to meet social objectives. During my own stint in the rural areas, the NGOs were practically working in a very unsustainable manner. The grant funding was mostly first for their own survival, for the salaries, and then what work needs to be done rather than vice versa. So we said, let's form a company. Even if it's a loss-making company, you know where the losses are. And so you strive towards reducing those losses. The poor are poor in terms of financials, but not poor in terms of common sense, not poor in terms of entrepreneurial spirit, not poor in terms of knowing the value for what the technology can do for them. And if you can leverage on those values that people have, you can actually make it commercially sustainable. Today 1.6 billion people don't have electricity. You have 2 billion people using undesired fuels to actually cook at home. Just to give an example, if in an open 3-stone cooker, if people are cooking inside the house, it's equivalent to 2 cigarette packets a day. And 1 million women and children in the world die because of this indoor air pollution. That never comes in the newspapers. And that's, for us, is how are we actually bringing the problems of the poor onto the forefront.
SELCO have discovered that sometimes technologies can be redesigned. SELCO looked at sewing, an occupation that employs many at the bottom of the income-generating pyramid and is considered too expensive for solar. What Handy discovered was that Western-designed sewing machines had much more power than needed by Indian seamstresses, who worked with delicate cotton and silk fabrics.
We were designing solar for inefficient solar sewing machines. Nobody was complaining about inefficient sewing machines, but everybody was complaining solar being expensive. And solar was expensive because we were designing for inefficiencies, right? And so we thought we had to look at it.
SELCO then found machines that use less power. With the reduced energy requirements, solar became an economic and efficient option.
SELCO has also developed a partnership with the Sewa Bank in Gujarat. With 300,000 members, this major microfinance institution helps poor working women secure loans for solar technologies. Leading to greater productivity, this extra cash allows for further investment. The solar sewing machines at this cooperative are making a big impact. The value of SELCO's innovative model has been recognized globally.
SELCO and Sewa go out to institutions like MIT, Berkeley, or United Nations Development Program to see how this could be scaled or replicated in other parts of the world. What we realized very early was that the product for us at the doorstep of the end user is a combination of technology and finance, and both need to be customized. You might have a brilliant technology, but if you have poor financing, the people will not buy it. You might have very good finance, but if technology does not match the needs, you cannot sell it, or they will not be able to afford it. A combination of affordable technology with site-specific financing is the key for promoting technologies like solar to the poor. A street vendor on a daily basis spends 15 rupees a day on kerosene for her 4 hours of vending in the evening, 6 to 10 o'clock. That's 450 rupees a month. That's approximately $10 a month for 4 hours of lighting. A solar light works out to at 10 rupees a day. Now tell me, is solar expensive? The problem is, what she says is 300 rupees a month is expensive. This is the best financial lesson I have learned from a street vendor, is 300 rupees a month is expensive, but 10 rupees a day is fine. The question is, how do you combine financial innovation or finance with technology? If today you create a 5-year financing for that poor lady to buy solar, and somebody is able to collect 10 rupees a day on a daily basis, she can afford a so-called expensive technology like solar, but it's cheaper than what she was spending, that is 15 rupees. Now she's only spending 10 rupees. When we look at any technology, whether it's solar, whether it's pico-hydro, whether it's biogas, anything, we have to look at it holistically, just not look at just a technology side or a finance side. She says, I need to pay 10 rupees a day. The bank would say, the street vendor has no credit worthiness. I cannot finance the street vendor, and I do not have the transaction cost to collect 10 rupees on a daily basis. What we did was we created an entrepreneur, we put up solar panels on top of his roof, and then he would charge 30 to 40 batteries on a daily basis and deliver at 6 o'clock to the lady, and he comes back at 10 o'clock, takes the 10 rupees and takes the batteries back home. So you have created an enterprise that he is charging 10 rupees. For him, per battery works out to be 6 rupees. So he's making money per battery per day is 4 rupees. So have I spoken about subsidies? No. As we say in SELCO, subsidies is always for the rich. The poor want financing. And always we say solar is expensive for the rich and affordable for the poor.
Harish Hande went to the outskirts of Bangalore to meet with his customer Vijay Kumar. He's used his solar power system to become self-employed. Vijay Kumar charges batteries and then rents them out. The greengrocers are already waiting at the curbside. More than 100 of them are Vijay Kumar's customers. This merchant complains that his lamp keeps flickering. It turns out the contacts are loose, and they're quickly repaired.
If it's a regular home lighting system, which is not related to income generation, you can come after 24 hours. But this is on-site at that point of time. Otherwise, two things would happen. They'll lose income, and they'll also lose faith in the technology. I'll tell you another example. How do we serve
In a financial, social, and environmentally sustainable manner, people who earn $16 a month. What we did was, these kids go to school. Now when kids go to school, they pay a nominal amount of fees, 10 months a year. So suppose they go for 8 years. So 8 multiplied by 10 is 80 months. Now think 80 months as finance. What we did was, we put solar panel on top of the roof, school. It was built into the educational infrastructure, and the light and battery at home. The battery was less than the weight of a lunchbox. So the kid comes to the school with the lunchbox, so-called battery, plugs it into the school's charging station, and as soon as the school is over, she goes back home. And if she doesn't come to school, there's no light at home. What the mother says is, I don't care whether you study or not, you go to school because I need light. See, what happens in our engineering schools in our part of the world is, we always think in silos. We all need to get away from our backgrounds, whether being an economist, whether being an engineer, whether being a medical, we need to be social scientists to actually look at it. A lot of our work, 80% to 90% of work, actually is working with financial institutions to come up with different financial products. Like a paddy farmer needs 5-year financing, he will only give the money on January because his cash flow cycle is once a year. A peanut farmer, twice a year. A sugarcane farmer, twice a year. A school teacher, monthly. So it's a question about how do you mix technology and finance together. We've installed 150,000 systems in individual households, and through the bank finance. We've done around 3,000 to 5,000 institutions like churches, mosques, temples, orphanages.
As SELCO focused on creating individual solutions, business took off. However, it was not always a smooth ride, since with success came pressure to expand.
We got advice from well-known management gurus that the way you guys are doing it is not correct. And you need to not own your own centers, while you need to create a lot of other dealers. We went to that and created half the company to create those dealer models. What happened with that was completely the mission went for a toss. In a sense that dealers started looking at upper middle class and higher middle class. So the poor were anyhow left behind. And because of that, we nearly got killed because the market was not so maturely developed even for the middle class and upper middle class. The margin levels for what the dealers expected were not as high, so they started tapering down in their business. And we had a lot of inventory that we had bought because of these dealers. We nearly collapsed. The mission was going for a toss, the company was going for a toss, what we had actually started with was going for a toss. We feel that the middle class and upper middle class, anybody else will reach them. They have a choice. They have a choice to go after things. But that's no fun. The fun for us is at this segmentation, and the fun, frankly speaking, is the barriers that we come across. No amount of Google search can help us solve that. And that is what keeps us frankly glowing. We never had an innovation department till a couple of years ago in our 14-15-year history. And the incubation also started very recently because we wanted to streamline, institutionalize incubation and innovation, because we thought if we create a formalized department, it would help the business side of SELCO rather than just everything as an informal process.
Innovation department was started a couple of years ago, and the idea behind it is, I like to tell people it's the experimental arm of the company, and it was started to mainly increase the portfolio of energy services that we can provide to our existing customers, as well as get access to new customers. Innovation was always there in SELCO. It's there at the branches. They've already done it in their own little ways as part of the regular business. But we wanted to formalize the department and say, okay, through this department, we will channelize all sorts of new technology, new ideas. It needn't be product related. It can also be finance. We have a very partner-centric approach. So if we get a problem that we will not be able to give some in-house solutions to, we decide who are the people who do have these expertise and then tie up with them.
For me, social unsustainability is much more expensive than the future financial sustainability that we are all so enamored by talking about IRRs and etc. It's not. If you map the energy poverty in the world, it equally maps the violence that is going out in the world. And it's a poverty. It's a poverty that is something that we need to eradicate. And what else but sustainable energy is actually giving us a wonderful platform to remove poverty without talking of climate change. SELCO is known for its for work it has done in solar power, but what we want to position ourselves is energy provider, sustainable energy provider in the rural areas. And what we want to look at is let's look at a house as a black box. Where else can we make an intervention? Community as a black box, village as a black box. Where else can SELCO provide sustainable energy so it makes a difference in the quality of life or increase incomes? We believe that the success of SELCO has been in providing customized solutions to the poor, which actually, because it's need-based, you need to customize. If it was want, you need to standardize, but energy service will always remain a need. And our counter answer to a lot of people of our scale-up is, can we replicate? If we replicate, that means we bring up entrepreneurs from different areas. Let them not go through the first 8 years of pain that we went through. Utilize our networks, leverage our networks with financial institutions and service and technology providers. Come up with site-specific solutions from where they are, speaking the local language in the local accent. So they become local entrepreneurs, whether Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, or Mali, somewhere down the line. We want to inculcate or incubate entrepreneurs who have the passion and open up complete. I use this main SELCO, not only the incubation lab, utilize the main SELCO as a lab in itself for other entrepreneurs to pick up from. And that's the goal that we would like to achieve next year.
In 2005, SELCO India won an Ashton Award for bringing affordable solar power to poor communities across Karnataka.
By bringing together a package of microfinance, of income-generating training and encouragement, as well as the photovoltaic technology, they have found a way of showing how sustainable energy can improve the quality of life of poor people, and they've done it in a commercial way.
The effect of having electric light at home can be profound.
People come up and say, my daughter has been able to complete her studies just because we installed a solar light. We have increased our income. People even say that my daughter was born under solar light rather than candles and kerosene. This reinforces what we are trying to do is right, that we are on the right track, and has immensely motivated all the employees to reach greater heights of what we are trying to do.